lead-in music and cool graphic was brought to you by Kyle Northrup and his awesome company. Totally put a link in there. He can make that kind of cool stuff for you too. We're coming through our StreamYard. Yeah, see?
We're getting fancy.
We're so fancy. All right. But everything else about the show is still really low tech. We read some comics, so we're going to tell you all about them. Hey, my shirt and my hoodie don't match in any way. That is horrible. I'm wearing like my pink, awesome read comics. And then this is from Gideon Falls, which is a super bad horror thing. So it's like, so cute. And then, rah! Anyway, Symbiote Spider-Man, there was a lot of talk about this one. We weren't 100% certain whether this was actually tied into the King in Black or because pre-COVID or some mid-COVID, this actually at one point had an Empire logo on it. So they weren't real sure if it really actually was an actual tie, but it is. It's so King in Black. I mean, it's so definitely something that you want. This is the first part of anything in King in Black that we've seen other than that just like Venom black cover from the what's it called? Dadgummit. It's that one shot that they do all the time for Venom.
Web of Venom.
Web of Venom, that's right. Okay, so this one has Kang in it, which is awesome. Kang the Conqueror is cool, and you find out in this issue can actually float in space. He doesn't need a lot of like oxygen or anything. And there are 2 books this week that actually for some reason have Uatu the Watcher. So if you want to know like what's the tie that binds all the books together this week, it's the Watcher. Okay, so Symbiote Spider-Man. He of course is the Spider-Man that wears a symbiote. So it doesn't make anyone surprised at all that you have a tie to the King in Black. So this one introduces this kind of, I don't know if you're going to call it a character or a creature, but that one's important. And it's so funny because for the first time ever, every single thing on the front cover actually happens in the book. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't usually. You're here for all the minutes, Joseph. That's awesome. So there is, in fact, an appearance of the Black Knight and Rocket Raccoon in this book. But yeah, it's mostly you want to pick this one up because it's the very first part of the King of Black storyline, which is going to be awesome. And it's written by Peter David.
Well.
Oh, you're going to pick the shiny thing right away.
Oh, yeah, because it's so good. So if you are not sure if you still need to be reading death metal, yes, you do. All of the things.
Are we on 5, 6, 5?
5. All right. So you're going to need to have read 1 through 4 and the other tie-ins, specifically the Robin King and the, what was it? The Extreme.
Yeah, but Extreme was like extremely sold out quickly.
That's true.
So good luck finding it.
Yeah.
Grab it if you can.
Yeah. Or if you already have it, make sure to read it. Read it before you read this one.
Don't
this
have
is,
it. Just yell frag. Silverback's is in the room.
This is where all of the other parts are tying together very nicely in this book. So you're probably going to want to go back and reread it all before you jump into this one, so it's all fresh in your mind. And honestly, I would recommend going back and rereading regular metal as well, because there's so much that happens in this book.
So you're saying just set aside a couple hours.
It's so good.
Reading.
Yeah.
All right, and just like everything else that's been caught in the COVID timeline, this Widowmakers was slightly caught up, and then they finally said, you know what, forget it. Let's just put it out there. So this is there is a Lobo. this is the one that has the two characters that are not our regular Black Widow. In fact, are the other two characters that you see in the opening trailer for the Black Widow movie. And you'll get to know them a little bit more. This Red Tornado, and I cannot remember her name for the life of me. It starts with a Y. And you get to see them speak Russian or make really bad Russian broken accents when they're speaking English, which is funny to me. But it all kicks off. She's breaking into somewhere and ends up finding him there. He's been held captive there. This is actually a really good read. Give you some insight into the characters if you don't know anything about them. It's a good way to jump in and figure something out ahead of the movie, whenever that might happen. Sometime soon.
Right. So I'm a huge Black Widow fan. So Jen handed me this one and said I should read it, and it's really good. Lady Freedom. So this is Lady Freedom, and she's awesome. She's super buff. She also has some superpowers, and her. I'm not 100% sure of what their past relationship was, like if they were just, really good friends or like worked on the same superhero team or what, but the main villain in this book, they know each other really well.
Like in real life or just when they're
both?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Complex.
Yeah. Yeah. And
she looks Native American, is she?
I'm not 100% sure. They don't really get into that. This is more about establishing the superhero side of things more than the personal side of things, which is why I'm not 100% sure what their history is. But I think we're going to find out in the next issue. That's what it looks like.
Written by my friend Spike Jarrell.
Yeah.
Or Gerald. I don't know how to say it, so I'm just going to make it I like Jarrell better because it sounds like Superman reference. All right. Marvel Voices, the Indigenous Voices book. We've been waiting on this. They've been having these other covers that are done by the person who did the very first story in here, Mr. Reggae. Assuming a Mr. But this is really going in and giving you a good detailed history of all the Native American heroes in all of Marvel. So Reggae has the beginning story in here that kind of like wraps, it does like all the histories, all of them together. And then there's 2 or 3 stories that are past that focus on a couple of the characters and give them some good through stories. This is the Mac cover, and then there's 2 Varega covers for the series. It's really nice. Ta-da. And I always has such a hard time deciding what to do.
I know.
They're her children. Hi, Angie! That's my sister-in-law.
Yeah. Van Helsing Bloodlust 2020 annual. This one is a really good read time-wise. It's a big book. From what I can tell, it's just a one-shot where she has to fight this vampire who has been around in hibernation for hundreds of years and is looking for his former fiance who is turned, which then made him want to turn, but then they were separated. So it's a
classic story.
Yeah. But how could that possibly go wrong?
It's always going to go wrong. That's why we like to read them.
Right?
We like pain.
Yeah. It's an $8 book, just as a reference as to how thick that book is. It does not tell me how many pages, but it was a lot.
$8. $8 of gorgeousness.
Yeah.
All right, Immortal Hulk number 40. More going through the door, more development. This one doesn't deal so much with his dad, but more deals with what Doc Samson, his roommate, has become, which is, I think it would happen in the last issue, and I super apologize if it's like a spoiler, but he has another form that he takes in this one very fully. I think we've seen him in this form before, so I'm not going to say it just in case, but so maybe a first appearance. And something crawls out of which form does it crawl out of? Think straight up Immortal Hulk. A person crawled out of. Everything's in their brains, right? So you're either in Bruce's brain for part of it, or you might be in like one of Joe Fixit's brain. It's all the different personalities of the Hulk over the years are all in this like weird mindscape, and they keep going through all of them. And now it's very unclear what parts are actually real. I've given up trying to figure out which was the real parts because it's just so much fun walking through the craziness with him.
Right.
Maybe we'll eventually have a slightly fixed Hulk. I don't know if that would be any fun though.
All right. So Agretsuko meet her friends. So the first series was a mini series that was revolving around Retsuko. And so this is her second series. And it's going to focus on her friends. This first issue focuses on her yoga instructor. And
most buff yoga instructor I've ever seen.
Her yoga instructor only ever says one word, and it is protein.
Oh, I thought it was going to be namaste.
No. But that would make a little bit more sense for a yoga instructor. So that's why he says protein. Or who knows, because there has been, who knows which gender the yoga instructor is, because it's an all-girls class, but it's unclear. If you have played the app game, you may have seen that little short, because they're doing little shorts, and it pretty much is a lead into this book, which I think is really cool that they're doing all of the little cut scenes that the first few even tie into the first series a little bit. So yeah, some extra content on their app, and it's a really fun game. So they have heard lots of rumors, so they have to just, discuss them amongst themselves instead of just, asking the yoga instructor, hey, what's your deal?
What's your deal? Yeah. All right. So this is Freak Show Night, which you guys might think to yourselves, hey, that's not releasing today. But you did get it if you were a Kickstarter backer, which I will buy anything that Hedrick does. This is Jonathan Hedrick, who also has some other stuff coming out today, obviously. Right here. So this one, Freak Show Night, to best describe it, it is a zombie book with the most gorgeous art. So all the art is this style art, where it's like really cool graphics art. It follows one gentleman and the people that he comes across. It deals a little bit in PTSD and, the after effects of war. And it never really explains why they're in the middle of Zombieville, why he's trying to live in the middle of the woods, and why the zombies are okay to just you can make a campfire and they'll stay away from it. They're drawn to the fire. They will come to the fire, but they won't come near you. It's very strange. But the art is so worth every bit of the entry point to this book. I loved it so much. I don't know if it's going anywhere else from there, but I'm in. Oh, and I know something that I don't know if I'm allowed to tell. It has been picked up by another company, and you will see it in your Diamond Order books soon. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you where. So I'm not going to say.
All right, Seven to Eternity. I have never really read Seven to Eternity because I hadn't just gotten a chance to just jump in yet. But new story arc, so good jumping in point. It at the very first page, This tells you everything that you need to know before reading this book. So, if you haven't read Seven to Eternity yet and want to jump in, I was able to jump in pretty easily. So I really did just kind of skim this one. I was running out of time, but the main character here, he is dealing with, I don't know if they're aliens or like other creatures that are humanoid, but they are pretty much in a argument about what they're going to do next. Like about, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it because the book hasn't come out.
It's hard to know how much. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
But
it looks like the Mandalorian a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It kind of feels like if you're a fan of it, the feel that I get is that if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, you probably would like this series too. I haven't watched a whole lot of The Mandalorian either. I'm not super into Star Wars yet, so.
Does it feel like it's fantasy, sci-fi?
It's definitely more sci-fi. Okay. And I'm not sure how many humans there are because I'm not 100% sure how many of the human-looking humans are actually human. But you never really can tell in sci-fi, right?
Oh yeah, Kyle knows. Also, Slice of Life. Oh, I love Slice of Life books. Those are my favorite.
I do too.
This is one of the most single gorgeous books this week. Although there are lots of gorgeous books this week, so it's really hard to say this. This is Sea of Sorrows, IDW. And it is drawn in a very unique way. Like, it almost feels like they started with a black page and then did whites over it. So it takes place, it looks like people have, like non-officially, not like a military or anything like that, have taken a boat out into the middle of who knows where and hired the main character to dive deeply into the ocean where they believe they've found a wreckage of, it looks like Nazi gold. So it's a submarine that sunk, and one bar has come up and it looks like it has Nazi symbols on it. So that's where they're going. That's what they're going for. But he finds something more than the Nazi gold down there. And it's so beautiful. And I'm not going to let you know what the thing is because it'll just wreck all the stuff. But you can kind of, if you look at the cover really carefully, you could probably figure it out. But totally don't miss out on that.
It looks so pretty. All right. We Live, number 2.
Mm-hmm. You'll like it, Dave.
So, just like the first one, there are 2 QR codes to scan for songs to listen to on YouTube while you read the book. So, first issue, we meet the main character who is, I guess I'm not really 100% sure what he does, but he's also a leader of this group, mostly children, that he is trying to get them to safety. And they kill a monster that is trying to kill them, and,
seems fair.
Right? But the problem is, when you kill one of those monsters, they are usually in a pack of about 30. So this issue is whether or not they can get away from these monsters or not. The music is super beautiful. It's in Spanish. And yeah, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's like guitar, like acoustic guitar, but then it's like a bit like sci-fi kind of sounding, like
So electric?
kind of electronic, but it's like it's not like intense electronic.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't wait for more. It's so good. The Miranda brothers are doing a really good job with it.
And just as a forewarning, the first issue sold out completely at distribution and is not the most high dollar like first day release we've ever had, but a pretty quick uptick.
Yeah.
And the one in 15 is it's like a double or triple ratio book. So don't sleep on issue number 2 because it's probably going to happen again because everyone is buying very conservatively for the rack. And so there's not a lot of extra ones. Speaking of conservative rack buying, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is a behemoth book, which is a tiny little imprint, but it's growing in popularity. And I have a feeling that there are almost none of these out there. But this is an amazing book.
Just don't sleep on behemoth, really.
No, anything behemoth so far has been really big. Right back, this one's already like, just the A cover is already 3 times as much. So these you should call ahead and see if they have any. But this one deals with just one main character. And I can't really say a whole bunch about it because the twist is the title. It'll become apparent to you probably 3/4 through the book what the twist is. And that she really doesn't have any worries about walking alone at night. Worried. Not her. Let's see.
Hollywood Trash number 2. So, first issue, we meet these 2 gentlemen. His first day working on a trash truck, and this is Clyde. Clyde is the truck, and Clyde is his truck. I cannot remember his name.
I can't remember either.
Brother Boom Boom, I think, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But there is a not 100% sure like which mafia, but they are behind the trash industry in Hollywood. In the first issue, we saw somebody trying to kill them. Well, you know, when the mob's after you, you don't just get to take a break from that. So yeah, they're totally hunted down in this book as well. But that's giant robot right there on the cover. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's kind of like super bizarre, right? Because it's a little couched in reality. Because in reality, the mob did control all of the trash collection, mostly in New York. Mm-hmm. But to just like throw that reality in with like trash trucks that are alive and kaiju and, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
We both read this one.
Oh, this is probably the hottest book this week. The Recount. Be aware that there is also an ash can. The ash can acts as issue 0. So there is content in there that is only available in the ash can, just so that you know. And it feels very timely when you read the ash can, especially if you read the ash can when it was first released. It was right at election time, and it felt like they were totally talking the future, that they had looked into the future and had already written it down for us and like, haha, we try and travel. There you go. So in this issue, it starts with the president, not Trump, it's the one that's in this universe, is admitting wrongdoing and is stepping down after being impeached. So, and something crazy happens and continues to happen. There's like a premise that's put forward in this book that's so terrifying that could totally happen very easily. In which it becomes clear that if you voted or talked positively in a certain way about a certain political figure, that everyone was going to be coming after you, totally purge style. Oh, yeah. It sounds terrifying. Really good, though.
It was so good. Catwoman. High Speed Heist. It's the heist book that I've been waiting on.
This is Rompy. It's Rompy.
Yeah, it's Rompy. So, in the last few issues, we've seen Catwoman going back to town. Is that the name of it? I can never remember. It's within Gotham. I think that's right. Somebody correct me because I'm probably wrong, but where she's gone back to where she grew up, on pretty much on the streets, and she's trying to take them back. Which I think it was number 25, maybe it was last issue, she is doing some retcon about the drug dealers, arms dealers, and dirty cops that are pretty much running the place. Mm-hmm. And her plan is, along with all of the other people, mostly teenagers and young adults, some younger kids, they're going to team up, and so they start planning the heist in the last issue, and we see it happen. But will everything?
So funny, because I think Rom described this issue to me as the train job from Firefly.
Yes. Very much so.
In the Firefly.
Yes.
I gotta do. This is bottom one. Children of the Grave. I read the ash can of this one, and I think the ash can has a bunch of content that's in the very beginning of this one, so maybe just like the first 5 pages or so of it. So if you've got that, do you know where you're headed? This looks like 30 years from now, that everybody that's alive, especially the main characters, says that they don't remember where they came from. No one remembers their birth. No one remembers how they got to this, where they are. But in the cities that they live in, plants grow to provide food for them, and they're provided for in every way. Just kind of like, just things happen, and they don't. It's just, this is the way it is. There's a religion that's part of their society. They have no idea. And there's just like this like undercurrent of like, who knows what's going to happen next. Yes, we got to have a hat on.
Yeah.
She didn't have a hat on last week, so it was all kinds of bad.
But I found my black beanie.
Yep.
I was hiding in my black car.
I know there's a giant twist in this book that they're going to give us, and I cannot wait. And all the art is just as gorgeous as this cover. It's not a bait and switch in which the interior is a totally different thing. It is that art. Are you getting close? I can do a few if I'm.
2.
You have 2, mm-hmm. So I need to do at least 2. Yeah, I'll do 2 first. Yeah. That's we try to make it so we end up with like the same kind of amount.
Yeah.
All right. I know that this finished not necessarily this week, but because the release schedule for everything has been kind of wonky, I wanted to make sure that anybody that had not started No Heroine or was getting ready to read their No Heroine, that you bring a tissue to the reading of this book. Remember that it's about a girl who is a recovering addict. She hasn't been recovered very long and finds herself drawn into back to her hometown, in which, you don't want to be around people of bad influence. And of course she's that, but it just happens to also have a problem where it appears that there are werewolves and vampires and all kinds of other crazy things that she has to battle. Mm-hmm. And then at the beginning of this book, all of that stuff that she's been doing is put into question in her head. Has she really been battling werewolves and vampires, or has she been under the influence of drugs and she didn't intend to restart or didn't remember restarting drugs? Mm-hmm. It's It's brilliant, brilliant writing. Gogol is the best.
Yes.
And by the way, there's an actual reference in one of the books, I think it's Dark Interlude, in which it calls something Gogol-esque. And I'm wondering if they're referring to Frank, which would be awesome. Oh, yeah. So, Milton, you got to the end of it? All right. So, the other thing I'm going to review, this is a book that also has kind of a loosey-goosey release schedule. This is the Book of Lyaxia by Second Sight. This one has every bit of the good art exactly the way that is on that cover as well. It's about two brothers that have very kind of like mythological names, and I don't know if they're trying to say they are these mythological people, because everyone else in the issue that I read also has mythological names, but not anything like crazy like Thor. It's not nothing that crazy, just like, you know what you're getting into. Mm-hmm. So it's fantasy. It starts with them being really young and them kind of like telling you like they'll always have each other's back. And then things happen in the kingdom. They find themselves in positions of power. And I am not certain that one of the brothers is completely sane. We might have a mad brother situation. But it does feel like it's a lot of like family infighting and intrigue with a little bit of supernatural stuff in it. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous book.
Ghostmaker versus Clown Hunter for the soul of the city. So, if you have not read the previous couple issues where they talked about the not the actual identity, but like the identity of the Ghostmaker in relation to Batman. So it starts with a flashback to many, many years ago with Bruce, and who was not yet the Ghostmaker, but the Ghostmaker's, I don't know if it's a secret identity. They literally have not said his name at all. So,
oh, there's a character we don't know their name of?
Yeah, Ghostmaker. We have no idea what his real name is. But we do know that he and Bruce were...
His real name is Make Ghoster. Ghosty McGhostface.
We do know that when they were young, they were friendly rivals, I guess. Kind of. I mean, literally wanted to kill each other, but like in a friendly way, it feels like. Because if Bruce really wanted to, he would have killed him by now. I really think that he could have. But Bruce doesn't really kill, so that's the other thing. Yeah, I was going to
say, can he though?
If he punched him too much, maybe he would have died on accident. But I mean, when you're a kid and you're just learning how to fight, though.
Oh, okay. So it's not like, oh, I accidentally parked the tumbler on your face.
Right. Pretty much they were both doing all of their training at the same time period. Not necessarily the exact same training at the exact same time, but they were doing similar training at the same time. And in the last issue, Batman and Clown Hunter and Ghostmaker pretty much they've gotten together, and Ghostmaker thinks that Clown Hunter should not be allowed to be still in the city, and he should be locked away or dead. And so this is the continuation of that conversation. Also, there is totally Harley in that book. So if you're a Harley fan, don't miss it.
Oh, you cheaters have been cheating on her with Punchline. Shamed.
4K no lost dose, Jen.
A little bit, huh, Travis? Oh, by the way, hashtag Ghosty McGhostface. right, a dark interlude. I know you're thinking that the cover of this looks a little familiar. Anyone else be? All right, I know there's big fans of Fearscape on here. Please tell me that there's people that like tore up that first series like I did. Okay, so in the first series, Fearscape, the main character Henry, literally his name, is a novelist who doesn't ever really make it because he's too busy doing his edits for this really famous guy who's his friends with.
Yeah, he took over Vault's Instagram, Twitter account.
Oh, did he? Did Henry do that?
Yes.
That makes sense.
So go find that before you read this because he hypes up the book.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have at least gotten to English 303 to have been able to put up with his baloney and flowery language.
It's
Love
great.
Henry. Yeah. So in that first book, he steals the manuscript of this like lifelong book that his mentor has made and leaves his mentor for dead. And in the series, actually tries to kill his mentor's daughter, pretty much his mentor's daughter's infant child. So not a good person. And so at the beginning of this issue, you don't have to know any of that stuff he tells you. He actually writes a letter saying he super apologizes. He's been to, he's been in, mental health facility and everything's fine and all's great. And his mental health therapist has told him that he should write a novel as part of his getting wellness.
No.
That's all I'm going to tell you. Because so Fearscape's an actual place that he travels to with real characters and everything, and that will bend your brain. You will also wonder what in the world's going on in your life once you're done with that. Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan, for this awesome book.
It's pretty great. All right. So this is Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons. So it's kind of a prelude to Stranger Things because this is the story of how they got into D&D, which
they're already into
in the first scene, really. Right? They're playing D&D.
I believe so, down the basement.
Yep. So this is exactly how they end up with a D&D set because, they're kids. They don't have jobs. They can't make money as much to buy I think it's like a $20 starter set. I don't know how much it was back then, but now it's like maybe $30 for a starter set. And
$20 back then was a lot of sticking money, especially when you only got like 25 cents for scooping the poop in the yard or whatever.
Right. So, they're trying to figure out a way to get the starter set and have to deal with bullies on the way with that. And after they get into D&D, they start seeing people around them differently as different, not really characters of D&D, but like, I guess different races.
Okay.
So like they see one of their teachers as like a satyr. They're like, oh, if he was in D&D, he'd be a satyr. Or I don't know how to really explain it, but it's kind of how everybody, the first time they play D&D, all of the feelings that you get when you first play the very first time in this book. It made me so happy and so nostalgic at the same time. And Jodie Hauser did an amazing job.
Ooh, I didn't remember that was Jodie.
Yeah. And this is the C cover, so it looks like the old book. I don't know what the A cover looks like, but that's all we ordered, so.
Because that's the only one I liked.
Yeah.
By the way, when I'm doing ordering, if the A cover is kind of like, meh, just order a bunch of B.
I mean, that's the cover I put on my poll too, so it works.
All right. Frank at Home on the Farm is an awesome book by Scout. A lot of people have been looking forward to this one.
It looks great.
I'm going to be careful about how I describe this one because this one is really a journey. I will just tell you that Frank has a family that lives on a farm, and he has gone somewhere, traveled somewhere, and come back, and he cannot find his family there. So he spends part of this book going into town and asking about where his family might be and trying to find friends that he knows that they had. And it's really surreal, really surreal. It has nothing to do with being on a farm. So if you're hoping for like farm animal fun, it's not about that at all. This is truly, I mean, once you get to the end of the book, which doesn't wrap everything up, by the way, you'll understand the cover completely. But really, really cool. I love psychological stuff so much.
It's true. It's true. It's one of your favorite things.
Mm-hmm. All right. That is all we had time to read for review. There was also a really cool trade paperback that's an original graphic novel from Black Mask called Pirouette, which I very much wanted to read, but I could not get time to read all of this and then that also. So I apologize. I'll try to get to that. But just know that exists, and it might not be on your radar because it didn't have like a regular release as individual books. But OGNs are awesome because you don't have to wait for the trade. It already is one. Haha. All right, everybody. That is all for today. A Minute to Skim It. If you are looking for a local comic shop to go and visit tomorrow and support, it's very, very easy. You can find them at comicshoplocator.com. If you want to know more about these books and want to know kind of like, have all the pictures of things and the background information, previewsworld.com is Diamond's site. They have all the information there. Or you can go to the individual comic book companies. Please try to find, my challenge to you this week is to go and find at least 2 artists, writers, or creators of any kind and follow them on some social media and give them some support in that way. It doesn't cost you a single penny. Just give them some like super thumbs up and get them going because they don't have your faces right now at conventions telling them how much you love them. And that's the only way they have any interaction from you. So try to do that this week. My challenge is 2 people.
I highly recommend doing more than 2, but.
Well, you can be an overachiever.
Yeah.
Hannah's going to overachieve.
I already follow so many. So it's a challenge at this point to find more.
All right, everybody. This has been Miss Jen and
Hanna.
For Minute to Skim It. See you next week.